Welcome in. Good evening, everyone. Welcome in to Unspoken Real Talk, where men come to talk about all things mental wellness. We have my friend Reginald Kearney here with us with a unique view tonight. I'm so happy to see him. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm happy to be here. I'm happy these days. I'm happy to be seen anywhere. That's
So, before we get into our topic, tell the
Mhm.
people a little bit about yourself.
Well, let me see. Gosh, not a whole lot to tell about me. Um, a
You have
black
a
man.
podcast and a magazine.
Well, I have a magazine, and right now we kind of on hiatus because of some fact. I was sick for a little while, working on getting that back. And hopefully by May or June we'll be back online. You gotta excuse me because I do have a cold. And hopefully get the podcast back on by June too. Had a podcast every Tuesday night, and when you get sick, you want to have somebody that can stand in for you. Now, Yonder stood in with the show for a long time and everything, but after the first of the year, he decided he wanted to do something else. But Yonder ran the podcast from like September down to the end of the year last year, and I really appreciated that he stepped in. And I told him, excuse me,
You fine?
I just wanted to keep the name out there, and he could pick his own topics. And he did an excellent job, so I appreciate that. But I couldn't find anybody to do the magazine like I wanted done, so we kind of had a deep six magazine for a while. And like I said, hopefully I can get that back on track, this year and everything, just working in the community, doing my thing in the community, and that's it, taking care of home, and I got my twin grandkids,
I saw that picture. I
yeah,
saw them.
playing, seeing them from time to time, my other grandkids,
Mhm.
but you know, I'm back, still getting there, but I'm back.
Well, we had talked about this before I hit the live button,
Hmm.
and we always talk about how we, I keep saying we, see, I've been doing this for a minute now, and I keep saying we, how the men are conditioned to suck it up, not show any emotion,
Hmm.
head of household, the whole thing.
Hmm.
So when you had your diagnosis, how did you handle that with the stigma? Were you able to find somebody to talk to, or did you even want to talk to anybody about it to get
Right.
that support?
Well, I knew when first of all, I want to encourage all men to get colonoscopies. Okay, so basically, we're going to talk about my battle with cancer, colon cancer,
Mhm.
and I'm one. If my big toe hurts, I'm going to the doctor to find out why it's hurt. So I was up on my screenings, and I was just like maybe 2 months behind on this screening for a screening every 5 years. Okay, because probably about 15 years ago, maybe might be 20, they had found a large polyp on my colon, and they told me it wasn't cancerous, it was precancerous, and that they wanted me to go to every 5 years, even though I didn't have colon cancer in my family. So that's what I
Mhm.
started doing. So I was up on my screen. This was a routine screening, I was, like I said, a couple months behind. So when I went in that day, it was April the 22nd of last year. When I went in that day, it just for me, I felt like it was just going to be a normal colonoscopy. I was just going to run in there, take my colonoscopy. My GI was going to tell me everything was okay. I was going to bust out of there, go get something to eat, and keep going. Okay, but got in there. Uh, so then, after it was over with, and I woke up, she came into the recovery room and she said, "I want to talk to you about your colonoscopy." And I said, "So what's up?" So she started talking, but then she put BUT in there, but. So I knew then there was something was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So she said that, look, she said, I want you to come back Monday and I want to talk to you, sit down and have a talk with you, but just give you a kind of an update. And she showed me the pictures and stuff. She said, I found some stuff on your colon and everything. And she showed me the picture and it looked like the colon had started turning kind of dirty, you know. So she said, I want to send this out to make sure that it's not colon cancer. So I said, cool, I'm good with that. So she had to send it to Baltimore because I'm in Southern Maryland. And so Monday, she said, just come in Monday. You don't have to set no appointment. Just let them know when you come in that, I told you to come back Monday morning. So when I got there around 9 o'clock because I wanted to get in there early and get out. I had to wait about an hour before I saw her because she did have some clients. So when she came out, she said, I still haven't heard from him, but I want you to come on back to the room. So I went back there and she called. She said, I'm going to step out. I'm just going to call the pathologist myself. So she left the room and she called the pathologist. And when she came back out, she told me what the deal was. I said, hey, So was I shocked? Yes, I was shocked because, I've seen a lot of people and known of a lot of people who died of cancer. And I said, that's one thing I never want to get. And I said, hopefully I won't get it. So that's what happened. So my wife was with me, and so we went out to the car. We left. Yeah, I was teary eyed. Gosh, at my age, I'm 68 years old. Oh, well, I was 67 then. And, you don't want to hear nothing that might cut back on your longevity. Okay, cut your longevity
Right.
short. So you don't want to hear that. My wife, she wasn't hearing everything. She was hearing what she wanted to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I said, Tina, this is what the nurse said, okay? All right. So we got to go with what the doctor said. We got to go with what the doctor said. So she, we just started rolling the ball then. Before I left out there, she had given me the name of a surgeon to go see because, her recommendation was have surgery on the colon. And then after the surgery, he would decide whether or not you had to have chemo or not. So that's what I did. I called him the same day, set up an appointment, went in there and talked to him, and then on I think it was June 5th, I had my surgery, and that was a hell of a surgery, okay? Because I was in so much pain. I've had some minor surgeries before, and I had one major surgery, but nothing like that. And that surgery just tore me up completely.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a lot of pain and stuff. So then on June 15th, I had my first chemo. And I had my last session on December the 16th and finished up on December the 18th.
Oh, yay.
Yeah. So I spent the whole summer in the house basically because some people, even though I wasn't on the strongest chemo medicine there was, still it affected me. It made my whole body change. It made me change because it's something my body hadn't been used to. So I would have good days, my good days wouldn't come to like about 4 or 5 days after they disconnect me from the ball that I had to bring home to finish up the chemo. That's when I would get my good days. But by the time I got my good days, it was time to go back in and, get hooked up to a bag. I saw people coming in, doing their work, going to work. Some people were coming in there on break, you know, taking their chemo and stuff. I just wasn't one of those people, So people react different to, chemo and everything. So, like I said, I spent my whole summer in the house. I would go out every once in a while, but for the most part, I was homebound.
So how did that mess with your mental that you were in the house the whole summer? Because I know you like to be on the go.
Yeah, it messed with me because we didn't go on vacation. I didn't want to go on vacation because I didn't know how I was going to feel during that time. You
Mm-hmm.
know, Generally when I came off the bag, had to go get disconnected from my ball on Thursday. Friday and Saturday would be terrible for me. Sunday I would start feeling a little better. By Wednesday I would feel good, but then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday come, and then I'm back in the doctor's office on Tuesday.
Right.
So 5 days to do something wasn't really enough. So I would just kind of, just stay around the house, might go for a ride or something, just, and that was basically it. Just basically it, because I couldn't have my grandkids around, couldn't really have a lot of people around, because they don't want you to have a lot of people around, because if you start sweating or something, you be sweating out chemo.
Right.
And I could tell, like, when in the master bedroom, we have a walk-in shower with a glass door. And I could just look at that glass door and just tell what was coming out of my body.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I didn't even want to be bottle whipping. It was, that's how bad it was.
Right.
It's just turning the glass black. So you had to constantly be cleaning
Mm-hmm.
everything. So I really couldn't have any, people visiting me or anything like that.
Thank goodness for Zoom.
Oh yeah. Zoom and Facebook page.
Yeah, because I was like, I know that
Facebook
doesn't
Live.
still, count for having the grandkids around, but at least you
Mm-hmm.
could still see them
Yeah.
and what
Yeah.
they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, what's your plans now?
Well, one of the things I want to do, I've been lazy about. I wanted to write a book on my experience, and then when I can, I encourage the other men to go out and get their screenings, because we as black men, we don't want to go to Dr. Vanessa. Okay, and we die because we don't. Okay, a lot of times you got to remember, a lot of surgeries, a lot of illnesses, we might not be able to prevent them, but we can get well from them. We can get the medical care that we need to get. But if we don't
Mhm.
go out and seek that medical care, and we know we got something going on with our bodies, then we're killing ourselves. And a lot of times you're going to die because you don't go out and take care of yourself. You know.
So, you said you're just being lazy on writing a book?
Yeah.
You don't really have to write it. You can dictate it to the phone.
Yeah. And I know what I want to put in it and everything. I know what chapters I want to have. I know where I'm coming from. But I just want to be a spokesman for black men to go out and take care of themselves. I mean, this month is colon rector month, and you know, you see a lot of on the news. You see a lot of white people participating, but you don't see us. You don't see
Nope.
black people of color, and it's prevalent in our community. So we've got to we got to take care of ourselves. Men, we have got to take care of ourselves.
At some point, which is probably going to start during the summer for
Mm-hmm.
me, having two full grown men, young men,
Mm-hmm.
they got to go.
Oh yeah, because
They got to go.
the biggest population getting affected by colon cancer now is younger people.
I just need them to do physicals.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
that's a
get
good
them back.
start.
Yeah, just get them started
Yeah, because like I said,
again. They used to, but I just need them to start going back again.
yeah, like I said, if my big toe get a pain in, I'm going to the doctor to find out what's wrong with it.
And see, that's the female
Mm-hmm.
population. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
well, I didn't do that during December. I self diagnosed myself. So
Mm-hmm.
when I go back Monday to visit, I'm gonna say, look, all this happened, but I
Mm-hmm.
just didn't feel like coming in. So here you go. Here's my
Mm-hmm.
list. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna give him the list of everything that was wrong, because I try to make that one visit too.
yeah. When you feel bad, you should go.
I was on crutches.
Oh, you was on crutches.
I bought my own crutches from the Walgreens. I got my own
You gotta
crutches.
stop doing that. But
Yeah.
some things you can self medicate on. You can be okay. But if you feel a real serious pain in your body, you've been having the pain for a while, you know, you just need to go. I mean,
It was
I'm,
only
I'm
three
more
weeks.
I'm more cognizant of my pain now than I was before I had diagnosed with
Mhm.
cancer and had surgery. Because back in December, the latter part of December after Christmas, I felt a lot of pain in my upper lower chest area, right above my stomach.
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have that pain now. But I took myself to the emergency room because you don't know what's happening.
Right.
Come to find out, when I went in and see my urologist about a month ago, he said how I had a lot of scar tissue build up, and that's what was causing the pain. But look, I
Mm-hmm.
was concerned about it because, like I said, the last thing I want to do, look, I just got out of chemo. I'm not ready to go back into chemo again, So when you feel something that's off in your body, it's important to go take care of it. Don't put it off.
But you were saying earlier, was that post traumatic?
Yeah,
Was it?
you had the PTSD,
Mhm.
and I kind of heard it yesterday, or actually read it on my Facebook page because I'm in a couple of colon cancer Facebook, groups, and they were saying, the person was saying that you can have, and they were suffering from it at this time, PTSD, because of some fact you were worrying about it coming back. Okay, the doctor might say, yeah, your cancer is in remission, which doesn't really mean a lot, but
Mhm.
you're still living, you're still breathing. But you're gonna go through your daily routine, but it's gonna be in the back of your mind, and sometimes it's gonna be at the front of your mind, where you're gonna be thinking about, am I gonna get cancer again? Am I okay? You know, am I gonna be here when I get 80 years old or 90 years old? Will I still be here at 90? Will this cancer come back and everything? They recommend, and I never did it. They recommend my with cancer and the oncologist and wherever you go to have your um, do your oncology work at, they give you a social worker, okay?
Okay.
And she recommended to me, if I wanted to, they had people that they could recommend me to go talk to for therapy. I never did, and my daughter-in-law, she recommended, because she's a um, nurse practitioner in the area of psychology. She recommended it, but excuse me, but I never did because I felt like I could handle it myself. But y'all excuse me tonight.
You
But
fine.
okay, but me being a man, I think I can handle it. And sometimes I wish I had just gone and sit down and talk to him, because there were times, I really got really sick during the chemo time. I got so sick that one time my father-in-law thought I was going to die because I could hardly walk. My voice is very strong now compared to what it was, back in August or September
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. He just, he's 90 some years old. And he just, one day we went to Sam's, and I was just holding him to a shopping cart, but I could hardly walk. I could hardly talk. But it got me out of the house. And they do recommend that you exercise when you're going through chemo. But I was very weak at one time. And one time, I actually thought I wasn't going to make it because my body had gotten so weak. Because I went from like 245 in weight down to probably my lowest was around 202. And when I got down to 202, it took me a while to get back up because I kept losing. And my doctor said that she didn't want to put me in the hospital to have myself to, get back to the point where I could get my weight back. And she didn't want me to go below 200. She said if I went below 200, I might be causing myself some problems
Mm-hmm.
because of the weight I had and my height and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, there's times when you do think, you're going to check out, that you're not going to make it.
Right.
And those were times I did. I thought that, you know, and everything. I was being a big man, but that stuff plays through your mind. So you start thinking about what kind of funeral you want. What you want to do with your belongings.
Yeah.
And what
Who's
you
gonna
want to
get
be.
this? And
Yeah,
yeah.
what you want to be dressed in. You start thinking about that stuff, and I gave it a real serious thought. Trying to make sure my stuff was in an orderly fashion. So if I did pass away, that my wife would know what to do. You know, she know how to
My
handle it.
grandmother, she died many, many years after my wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And this will tell you how long ago it was. She spent 80 $80, $90 on a dress for
Mm-hmm.
my wedding. And she said that she was taking that dress with her. That dress stayed in a zip bag with all her
Mm-hmm.
undergarments and her
Mm-hmm.
jewelry and everything
Mm-hmm.
until she passed. My husband died before she did.
Mm-hmm.
I was married 24 and a half years. If that tells you how
Mm-hmm.
long that dress was in the bag, and I put
Mm-hmm.
her in that dress. The
Mm-hmm.
undergarments had dry rotted, so we had to get
Mm-hmm.
her some new ones.
Mm-hmm.
But she took that dress with her.
Yeah. Yeah. So you do
She took
go
that.
you do go into that realm. You go into that world. You start thinking,
But it
you
was
know,
30 years before she passed.
but I might live another 30 years myself, but it was
I
something I thought
understand,
about.
but she had the dress in the bag for 30 years.
Well, I got some good suits around here, so I told my wife what to put me in if I did, pass away. But those are things you think about. When you get to your sickest. I mean, the sickest I ever was my first weekend after I took chemo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Friday I felt like crap. But Saturday morning I felt like crap of crap. And I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't do nothing. I was so sick that Saturday after my first treat um, chemotherapy session. I wanted to die.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's how bad I felt. I felt that bad. I tried to eat a banana and I threw up everything. My wife had to clean up after me. She had to put gloves and stuff on to clean up after me because that's how sick I was. And that Sunday, when Sunday came around, 'cause I stayed in bed all day Saturday night. And then that Sunday, I said, wait a minute, I ain't going out like this. I said, I know this stuff gonna probably kick my butt through 12 treatments, but I'm not going out this way. So I started fighting. I figured out what I could drink and what I could eat. The one thing I could eat and it would never bother me was a quarter pounder with fries. It wouldn't bother me. Other foods would bother me, but I could eat a quarter pounder with fries. And that might be the only thing I would have that day. But I was determined to put something in my body. And then I started, drinking cold stuff. Lord have mercy. The first time I I came home from chemo that day, the first time I had chemo that Tuesday, and I was thirsty. So I said, let me drink something cold. Lord, I went into it wasn't convulsions, but I went into the shivers just like that. I went upstairs and got in bed, pulled covers, blankets, and everything on me, and couldn't break that shiver for nothing. That's how cold it made me. Then after that, I couldn't gradually used to drinking cold stuff until towards the end because what it would do is it would lock my jaws up because
Mm-hmm.
of the metal and stuff in it and just give me a pain right here.
Like room temperature or hot is
That
what you.
was I had to go to room temperature.
Okay.
Room temperature. But if I try to drink something cold, I would feel it all in my jaws and my lower mouth,
Mm-hmm.
So it takes you through a lot of changes. Some days you want to deal with the changes. Some days you don't want to deal with the changes, but then, like I asked God, I said, look, I want to see my twins. I said, I want to at least grow old enough to see my twins graduate from high school. And I'll be 90 something then. I said, then,
But
that's
yeah.
that's what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started fighting mentally, changed my mental attitude about it and started fighting it because I knew fighting it was going to make me feel better and get better. So it does play on your psyche. When you have a serious illness, something like cancer, it plays on you. It plays on you. I lost so much weight that when I went in the bathroom to take a shower, I didn't even want to look at myself in the mirror. Okay. And those things play on you. I used to be like this, but look at me now.
Mm-hmm.
So mentally, mentally it drains you. You think about it. You start thinking about, did I do enough in life? You know, what else do I need to do? So it breaks you. It breaks you. But you got to be strong, and you got to, you really got, the devil would take your mind from you, and you got to remember that.
I
You
could
got to,
I could see that because
yeah,
that could probably, like you said, you wanted just a banana, and that
hmm
just it took you out.
yeah, and so you had to think about, God, I need you. I need to have faith in what I'm going through. I can get through this. I know I can, but how do I do it? So I had to figure it out. I had to come up with my own game plan because, like I said, everyone reacts different to chemo.
Hmm.
So if somebody tells you, "Oh, I had the same thing you had," you might have some symptoms I had, but the overall 90% of what I had or have, you won't never experience it. So I had to start figuring out what foods I could eat, and if I had to eat those foods 3 times a day, that's what I was going to eat.
How did you figure out that it was McDonald's though that would keep you from getting sick?
My wife was hungry one night, and she went by McDonald's. I told her, I said, "Look, I'm hungry, but everything I eat here in the house, I throw it up. So
And it's the foods you're supposed to eat that
yeah,
was
but I
making you
couldn't, I
sick.
couldn't eat them. So I
Okay,
said, "Get me a." She said, "What you want?" I know I didn't want no fish because I didn't know how seafood would go in my stomach.
right.
I said, "Give me a quarter pounder." So I told that quarter pounder up. Didn't bother me. The fries didn't bother me either. So after that, it was a quarter pounder once a day.
So, are you sick of the quarter pounders?
Yeah, 'cause I eat fish sandwiches now.
Okay, because I was like, it's kind of like working in a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's just say, like a Zaxby's or something, or
Right.
Cane's or something, and you're around it all the time. Or better yet, Krispy Kreme.
Mm-hmm.
You're around you work at Krispy Kremes on a regular basis, and all you want to do is eat donuts. So, I guess some people say they don't,
Mm-hmm.
but I would get sick of eating donuts every day. So I
Oh,
was wondering if you got tired of that. But on the flip side of it, that's what was
mhm.
keeping you going.
Yeah, and I had to because if I didn't, my doctor was gonna put me in the hospital. I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to go into the hospital.
Hmm.
So I just ate that, and gradually my weight came up, but my weight kept fluctuating. So finally, I'm at a steady 214 now, and everything. So I
You
lost a lot of
didn't
weight.
you didn't double down on the McDonald's like 2 times a day.
I just, for some strange reason, with my um drinking
Hmm.
fluids and stuff, ensure and stuff like that, I was able to start putting some weight back on. Then I started trying different things that I had eaten before, like in the beef and pork and stuff like that, and vegetables. And so I found some stuff that wouldn't bother me, and then I just multiplied that and started eating more of that. And then I just started getting back, just started bringing my strength back. So it's just
That's
think
that's
about determination.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just interesting that it
Hmm.
was McDonald's
It was a
food.
quarter pounder. And my wife and I, we laugh at that. But that was the only thing I don't know why I could tolerate it. I don't know if it was a mental thing or what, but I tolerated it.
I wonder if it's just because it wasn't healthy that it
Could
was
have
good for
been.
you.
Yeah.
It was like,
Mhm.
they were working together or something. But I don't know why that just piques my interest that it's
Yeah, it
McDonald's.
could have been, but it was a quarter pounder. Brought me back to life. So
Man, we're gonna have to get you like the little golden quarter pounder and put that on your
yeah.
table.
But like I said, it affects everybody differently.
Hmm.
But I think we all go through something mental. We might not talk about it. A lot of black men don't like talking about it. Now, I had no problem talking to people at church about when I did go to church.
Right?
because I think from June to end of the year, I might have went to church maybe 3 or 4 times that I really felt up to it. And I would talk to people about it. I wasn't ashamed of it. When you saw my Facebook page, I was talking about it on my Facebook page. I would always put a picture on the Facebook page on a Tuesday asking people to pray for me, because that was my day. I went in on
Yeah,
every other
I remember
Tuesday,
that. Hmm.
so it wasn't a problem. Now, a lot of people, you would never know they've had cancer or something because for some reason, cancer carries a stigma. Why? I don't know. So a lot of people won't talk about. I don't know if the stigma comes from where people look at cancer as your final call. I don't know, but
Right.
a lot of people won't talk about the fact that they have cancer. I've read posts where the person appreciated the fact that I was talking about the cancer. Oh, I got this. It's like they want to keep it secret. I didn't have no problem with it. Because I wanted somebody. I was hoping I would help somebody see me going through
Well,
what I went through, and that they go out and get a colonoscopy.
hmm
That's
I
all
can
I
see
was
that.
trying to do.
I
You
can
know.
see that because it people look at you different.
Oh yeah, they definitely do. Oh honey, hey, you don't had a oh honey me. It's just I'm sick. I got an illness. I got a disease. Yeah, I've lost weight. I look like a skeleton, but I'm gonna get through
Hmm.
this. You know, and everything. I don't need you to give me a pity party or anything like that. And I think that's what happens too many times. First time, you say you got cancer. Oh, but
Yeah.
honey, I'm so bad. Sorry you got it. Are you gonna be all right? I am not gonna be all right. My plans ought to be all right, but they already give you like a death sentence.
Hmm.
When they find out about it. And that's a stigma cancer carries. And a lot of people won't talk about their cancer battle. You'll see them and they look like they done lost 200 pounds, but they're never going to tell you that it was because of cancer and the treatments they're going through.
That's true.
You know, so yeah, I dealt with it. I dealt with it.
So I know you said you want to do the book for to educate others. What would
Hmm.
you tell your grandkids?
Well, they've got to be tested when they get my grandkids and then my children. My daughter is all no. My daughter got to have her. She's 29 now. She's got to go. I think she might have to go next year. And my son had his right after I found out I had mine. See, because he already had one scheduled.
Hmm.
So he told them that I had colon cancer, and my daughter has colon cancer. Didn't have it, but I told her, and so she's got to go. They want your family members, if you have cancer, to go in and be screened and everything. So I'm gonna, talk to my grandkids and I'm gonna tell them the same thing. When you get a certain age, 30, 35, you need to go in and have yours done. I might not be here, but you remember, I'm gonna tell your parents to send you in there.
Hmm.
You don't know where the line is gonna break at, okay? You don't. This might be a generational thing. I don't know. But I'm gonna make sure, but by telling them and their parents, you all stay on schedule.
Would that be like you said when they reach that age, they might not be here? Would that be? I won't say a letter in a bottle, but would that be where
Mhm.
you would write them each a note?
I'll write them a note, do whatever I got to do to
That
remind them.
leave it for them and say, hey, when you
Hmm.
get this age, this is what
Yeah,
granddad wants you to do
yeah,
because.
yeah. Because you got to do it because you don't know where it's going to break it. It might just be me and nobody else. Okay,
Hmm.
it might be me and 12 other people down the road into the future.
Right.
So you got to go check it out. A lot of times, because that's what they asked me, did I have anybody in my family who had cancer? No. But I've always had a problem with polyps. Every time I go and get a colonoscopy, I was having problems with polyps. So I already knew that there was always a chance I could get cancer. I knew that going in. But when I heard
Hmm.
the word, I was like, oh, crap. Okay. It finally caught me.
Yeah, because it's something about hearing the word that C word
Mm-hmm.
that just when the doctor told me to come back for
Mm-hmm.
additional testing, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, no, I don't want to do it. I mean, because you just sit there and you wait, and it seemed
Hmm.
like to get results take longer
Yeah.
than the actual. And I'm like, y'all know y'all can get this with
Hmm.
all this medical modern technology. Y'all can
Hmm.
get this turned around in 24 hours. Well, I gotta wait 10 days.
They don't. For some strange reason, I don't know what takes them so long.
10
But
days.
yeah, like I said, I started looking at the sky, the clouds different, the air smelled different, the birds sounded different. Because it's the C word.
Hmm. Of
But I
course.
was I was determined to live. That's what I wanted to do was live.
And see, that's the thing that when you give up,
Hmm.
um, that's when your fight just it like you said, the devil comes into play.
Hmm. Now, from looking at my Facebook postings and stuff that I read, some people just they give up after 2 or 3 treatments because their body can't take it. A lot of depends. They got so many different versions of chemo out here
Hmm.
that I was fortunate enough to get a mixture of chemo that wasn't too strong for me, and they thought that first weekend that I had all the problems that it was too strong for me, so he diluted it by 10%.
Hmm.
So because what they do, they don't make your chemo until the day of you have it. They have a pharmacist on site, and so they put all your medicines, they make all your medicines and put them together and get them ready for you once you get there and have your blood work. So he diluted mine by 10%. So he said, let's see how this works. So I was able to tolerate it, a lot better. You know, taking off, giving me a little edge and everything.
Hmm.
But I'm here. I'm kicking. I'm surviving. I'm loving it.
That's what we wanted to hear.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I like I know some people were saying that, they look at you differently
Mhm,
when you post that, but to see you being vulnerable and showing people your steps, your
mhm,
progress that,
mhm,
you know, mine's might not be the same as yours, but I'm
mhm.
still here fighting it. That
Yeah.
I'm sure you reached some people that you didn't think you
Mhm.
would reach.
Now I had neuropathy, and I probably had that. I might have that rest of my life,
Hmm.
or it might stop. The doctor said, I asked him the last time I talked to him. I said, "How long you think I have neuropathy?" He said, "You could have it up to 7 years." I have it in my hands, my fingers, and my toes and stuff.
Right.
So
Hmm.
it makes it hard for me to button up a shirt. Some days, when I'm trying to, when I go to work, I wear a dress shirt. Um, Trying to button up the shirt and button. Sometimes I get frustrated. That's probably about the most frustrating thing I get because I do have a limitation. That's with my fingers and stuff. Using those. So sometimes I just I seen more ones that take me 10, 15 minutes to button up my shirt. Because my tips of my fingers they tingle and they hurt and I can't really
Hmm.
feel them. So. But I'm alive, and so I say, well, if I got to go through this and put a shirt on, I'm alive. I thank God for that. So this is something small to what I have to deal with. You know,
Or do the button up polos and just yank it over your.
yeah, that's what I was thinking about doing, or getting more short sleeve shirts so I don't have to button up the sleeves and stuff. But I
Yeah,
tell people, I say, look, I thank God I'm still alive. I
I
say
understand.
I
There's
could
always a
be dead.
workaround.
Yeah, yeah, so I say if this is all I got to deal with for um being a cancer survivor,
Hmm.
then that I take it. I take the fingers and the toes tinkling, you know. That I take, but
I understand that.
yeah.
So my question for you, I know you said things are going to kick back up. So how can people find you?
Okay, well, let me see. You can go to face. You can find me on Facebook at Reginald Alpha Man Kearney. And everything is easy. I think X is at Reginald Kearney or Reggie Kearney. I think X is.
Hmm.
Uh, Then you can go to Urban Sentinel. Find me on Urban Sentinel on X, Urban Sentinel on Facebook, Urban Sentinel on Instagram. So I'm just trying to build everything back up now. You know,
I
everything.
understand that. I'm with you on the building because that once you
Mhm.
take that break, it's kind of like you starting from the from
Yeah, yeah,
beginning
yeah,
to
yeah.
get everything back.
And that's a mental struggle. I got to think my way through it. But I'm gonna get there. That's why I'm saying give myself a June deadline to bring everything back.
So
Get
what's next for you outside of bringing everything back up? You got anything big, or is that your big stuff right now?
that's
Is to
my
get
big that's
everything?
my big stuff right now. Just to get back to where I was before. I got laid down by counsel. You know
Hmm.
that magazine meant a lot to me, and everything. I was reaching a lot of people. But I just want to get back to doing some things I was enjoying in life. Hopefully I can go on a vacation this summer. Do
That
something.
yes, you need
Yeah,
that.
do
If you
something.
don't do nothing but go to Virginia Beach and sit there for a minute,
Yeah, and that's exactly what I would do. I
yeah,
thought about it. If I could just go to a beach and just sit there all day long, or go
yeah,
on a
just for a
cruise and
minute.
sit all day long, that's what I'm gonna do.
Now you know
Yeah.
that if when you need people and places to help you get,
Hmm.
the magazine up and running, I got people that more than willing to jump in a magazine to tell stories to help
Yeah,
you
I'm gonna
do
need
whatever.
you. I'm gonna need you because I got to build my whole base back up again.
Hmm.
Everything. I definitely got to do that and everything. Because like I said, I slowed down. I
Well, you
slowed.
get just like you slow down, you can go slowly back into it.
Yeah.
So the month of June is going to be absolutely crazy for us. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the perfect time, even though you can come back before then. But
Yeah.
that's when um you need to be plugged in
Mm-hmm.
so that we can get your magazine advertised. We can get
Okay.
the podcast back on because June is men's mental health month.
Okay.
So it it's
Mm-hmm.
I plan for it to be crazy.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We're supposed to be, and that's in June too. I'm still working
Mm-hmm.
on it. Coffee and conversation
Mm-hmm.
in the Maryland area.
Okay.
So where the men come to have coffee and conversation,
That's
or
good.
whatever the sips may be, tea, coffee, you know, something. And instead of them going to a sports bar, they just sitting around, kind of
Right.
like almost not a cigar bar, but some,
Mm-hmm.
that same similar
Yeah.
combination.
Mm-hmm.
So, working on that in that area, one in Richmond and one in Waynesboro.
Then where you gonna do the one at in Maryland?
We hadn't gotten that far yet.
Mm-hmm.
We know it's just going to be there in
Right.
that area because
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't gotten that far yet.
Yeah.
I just got my pins ready and yeah.
Right. But I appreciate what you're doing. I think what you're doing is great. Black men, we gotta stop being scared. I mean, that's all it is. Fear that somebody gonna look at you crazy just because you think you're crazy. Okay,
Hmm.
you got to take care of
And
yourself. You
I
can't
know,
let
and
people
that's
bother
what we
you.
need to do.
Yeah,
We got to stop that.
you got to cry. Like they say, the day I found out I had cancer, I cried. You
Hmm.
know, I just cried. I mean, gosh, even though I was probably strong enough to deal with it, I didn't want to hear that. Because
Well,
when you hear it, you
yeah.
think death. And then you got to think about. Look, chemo is poison. It's a good poison that helps your body heal. Okay, but
Hmm.
I didn't want none of that stuff in my body. Believe me. But once I started taking it, it wasn't bad. But coming off of it was a killer.
Yeah.
Because it was like being on a drug, and your body was used to that drug for a couple of days, and then you going through withdrawal periods after you come off that drug, and that's how
Hmm.
it was. And I didn't like that feeling, but I made it. You know.
Yeah. Thanks to McDonald's.
Yeah, that quarter pounder did it. That quarter pounder was good.
That just for the record, everybody, that he no longer eats.
Nuh-uh. When I was going back. The only time I get in McDonald's is a fish sandwich.
Yeah,
So I've
that's
been
kind of
stuck.
like me growing up on fish sticks, pork and beans, and applesauce. I don't
Yeah,
ever want to see that
man, I'm
again.
sticking to the Popeyes fish sandwich. Because they have a pretty good fillet.
Oh, see,
Pretty
I like
good.
it. See, he demonstrated it for
Mhm.
you guys a big fillet.
Yeah. So, but I just pray for my brothers every night. I just ask God to touch their hearts and minds, to push them to go get their screenings and stuff, get physicals. Don't wait to the last minute, then you boohooing and crying and asking the Lord to heal you. You got
Mm-hmm.
time enough to take care of this stuff now and not keep putting it off because you don't want to take a time with you to go to the doctor. Sometimes I think, did God lead me to be late for a reason? Because I could have gone in earlier and they didn't see anything and said I was good for another 10 years, another 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But then 2 years down the road, I'm definitely ill with
Or not
stage
here at
4.
all.
Yeah. I say, was it a purpose for me being late, 2 months
Mm-hmm.
late, or what? What? I thank God for that 2 months late, because like I said, it could have been different. Oh, you good. And then I go out and it keeps growing because they didn't see it. And then, like I said, 2 years down the road, I'm so sick they can't do anything.
Everything happened for a reason. That
Yeah.
happened for a reason.
Yeah. So, I'm here.
And I'm glad that you chose this podcast to be the first one to
Hmm.
jump back on.
Yeah. And like I said, this is the first time I've been on podcast since April, 1st of April.
Almost a year.
Yeah. Yeah. Once I had to focus on me.
Mm-hmm.
I had to focus on me. There was no way I was going to try to do a podcast on Tuesday after coming back from taking chemo.
Oh yeah.
All I
But
want to do is sleep. I mean, it
and
makes you
I appreciate
sleep.
that.
Yeah, it makes you
But
sleep.
then we got you back. We got you
Yeah,
slowly coming back. So
yeah, yeah.
we'll
So,
keep you coming back.
no, yeah. So I just got to do some things, get myself together physically and everything, and I'll be good. Go get me a haircut next week. Cut this wool off my head.
I just think you should do like my dad and just go ahead with the Rick James thought and just have it braided and throw some
Look,
beads on
look,
there.
you can't tell it, but my hair is so straight. The chemo made my hair straight. It used to be
Mm-hmm.
nappy, and it's straight now. And but I think if I cut it, it'll grow back nappy and get that straightness out of it. So
Well, yeah. Only
yeah,
one way to find out, though. Only one
yeah.
way to
I'm
find
gonna go
out.
get the clipper. Zoom, get it down, cut this beard down. Then I
Well,
probably feel better about myself too if I do all this.
well, I thought you was just trying something new, so I really didn't know that
No,
was not. Yeah.
I have never been almost a year. Like I said, August was the last time I was in my barber shop. And I
Mm-hmm.
went that day, I was weak as I don't know what. But I hadn't had a haircut since right before my surgery in June. That was the last time I had a haircut. So I had gone from June to almost into August without having a haircut.
Well, when you do the haircuts, you're gonna be brand new.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
looking
gonna be
forward
brand
to it.
new.
If I could do it myself, I would just do it myself, but I'm not good at them clippers.
Yeah, don't mess with that right now.
Yeah, I probably will have a bald head then. I'm gonna shave my head
No,
then.
yeah, don't do that. Well, my friend, I appreciate you letting us be the first one that you
Oh
jump on
yes,
with,
yes you are.
and we will definitely have you back more than once.
Okay.
So yeah, so like
Okay.
I said, we're growing ours, and you're rebuilding yours.
Hmm.
In 2026, we'll have the numbers that we're looking for.
Yeah, and just want to tell the brothers before I go, please, guys, go out and get your screenings done. Heart screenings, high blood pressure, colon, you name it. If there's a screening, get it done.
Prostate.
Yeah, prostate. Yeah, and that's another big one that black men have. Live as long as you can. Your life is in your hands. That's how I look at it now. Life is in your hands.
Well, I look forward to the book because I know you have that done before I see you again.
Yeah, I might.
Okay, that was my little shove to get you going.
Yeah. Yeah, but
But
I
we'll
think
talk.
about it every day. I just got to take some time out to do it.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. I'm gonna check on you in 2 weeks and say where you at.
Okay, I'm gonna
You
tell you.
finished.
Well, I haven't done the first
I
page.
wrote a note down.
That's a start. Okay.
Yes, it is a
Hmm.
start.
Yes.
All right, my friend. You take care of
Okay, thank you,
yourself.
fam. Take
And
care
I'll
now.
talk to you soon.
Okay, good night, fam. Good night, everyone.
See ya.
Okay.